This episode has been supported by Almirall. At Almirall, we are driven by science and committed to providing innovative solutions that address unmet needs and improve the lives of people with skin conditions. Welcome back, dear listeners, to our new episode of EUROPSO podcast. I'm your host, Jelena Misita. I'm a patient advocate, and today we are talking about living with psoriasis. This condition affects millions worldwide, but it's not just skin deep. It goes far beyond that. In this episode, we'll explore what truly matters to psoriatic patients and how their well-being is evaluated. With me today, I have two precious guests. One is Dr. Alvaro Gonzalez Cantero, and the other guest is Antonio Manfredi, a patient and a journalist. I would like to invite you to give us a little bit more about your background and to introduce yourselves to our listeners.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. And it's my pleasure to be here today. I'm Alvaro Gonzalez. I'm an academic clinical dermatologist, and I'm mostly dedicated to psoriasis. I see many patients in my daily practice, and I also do a lot of research, and also I do a lot of communication for patients. So I like to divide my time in science, patient, and also sharing with people and communication. So it's my great pleasure to be here today.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Saludo. I live in Seville, in South Spain, and I am 64 years old, and I live all my life with psoriasis. From 21, when I was 21, 22, I get to psoriasis arthritis. Now, I use, 45, 50 pharmacology difference, all the line, and now I have biologic, and I am very happy, good response. And for me, I have a quality of life, because for me, the most important thing is to have quality of life. I'm a journalist. My job is in the public television of South Spain, Canal Sur. Probably 1-2 months I will be retired. I want to work a lot in my psoriasis association, Acción Psoriasis, the Psoriasis Association of Spain, to work because I think there is a lot of job to do for all the patients. The situation is changing a lot. It's very important to have a good focus.
Thank you both. And before going any further, I would like us to begin by understanding psoriasis. It's a chronic autoimmune condition that affects the skin. It's often characterized by red, itchy, and scaly patches, but there's much more to it than what we can see. Can we learn more from a medical perspective about psoriasis? Basically, what it is, what is the prevalence, and how it is different from person to person?
Yeah, sure. Psoriasis is a very special disease. For me, I'm dedicating my whole time to this disease, which affects 2-3% of the population. For example, here in Spain, we have more than 1 million people with psoriasis, more than 125 million around the world. So it's a very prevalent disease. We know very well psoriasis, but it's very different from patient to patient. There are many different types of psoriasis that can affect, for example, the trunk, elbows, knees, but also nails sometimes, also the hands, the genital area, which affects a lot of the quality of life of the patient, also the hair, the face. So it's a very important disease for patients. They suffer a lot. And also now, during the last 5-10 years, we understand that psoriasis is not only a skin disease, but also, for example, my research lab, also we study how psoriasis also affects the inside of the patient, so other organs, for example, the joints. We now know that psoriasis can also affect the joints of the patient, what we call now psoriatic arthritis, but not only psoriatic arthritis, but also, for example, the heart of the patient. The people with psoriasis have an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, for example, myocardial infarction. So we dermatologists need to be aware that this can happen in our patient, and we need to check, for example, for hypertension, for dyslipidemia, for diabetes, and other aspects. Also, for example, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So they can have more fat in their liver, and we also check this in our clinical practice. And very importantly, psychological impairment. So we also ask our patient, how do you feel? How are you feeling your psoriasis? How is your quality of life affected? This is really important for patients. Many dermatologists, as we don't have many time in our clinics, and this is something that happens not only in Spain, but also in other countries. So we see how we don't have much time to cover this in our clinics, but when you ask a patient and you asking how do you feel, how is psoriasis affecting your life, for example, they really have a lot to say here. So This is a very important topic to cover also. So it's a very complex disease, I would say, which is not only a skin disease, goes beyond the skin. And we are now understanding very much like not only how this disease affects other organs, but how treating psoriasis really improves this other aspect of the disease.
Thank you. This was very informative, and I'm sure some of our listeners were shocked to see that this is more prevalent than they expected. And speaking about personal experiences and how patients feel, Antonio, you said you have been experiencing this your whole life. Can you describe how does it feel? What is the emotional impact of this, of being a person with psoriasis?
Okay, I agree with the doctor. He explained very well the situation. And don't forget that one person has psoriasis is not a problem only for him, it's for all the family. All the family is covered by the psoriasis. It's a problem for all the family near. Of course, the word is stress, psychological stress. It's impossible to conduct your life literally with afraid. You are not true in your move in all your life. For me, one of the most important problems is the itching. A lot of years, the dermatologists don't have to know what is the itching. You are in the night, you can't sleep, you can have a rest. You are always with problems of security, very tired always. And for me, it was the most important problem, the itching. And the second problem, very important, is the change in the Spanish social security, the change of the dermatologist. Maybe one month visit one dermatologist, another, and the change is very, for me, it's very insecurity. But from 10, 15 years ago, the situation is changing for well now. The dermatologists improve the social situation, understand what happened with you. If you can rest, if you can study, you can have a better life, to be father or mother or to travel for everywhere. It's a very important change. I'm very happy for that, of course, because we have now the biological industry. The medicine, the biological is very important for quality of life. For me, the impact, it was in three more important areas. In my professional area, I couldn't move in all the world. Okay, no, stay home. It's a problem. It's a psychological problem, not a physical problem. The second question for me, quality important, is the obesity, because you don't move. Remember, I have arthritis too. I don't move. I have problems with obesity, but bad quality of life is very important to move. And the third, and what important too, is I'm journalist. I can, the concept to be qualified to study, to know is very changed. Now I am happy. Now I live better. I have a better quality of life than 20 years ago. No, because that's important. I have quality of life, and it's the objective that must be all the families with there is one of the member have psoriasis.
Thank you, Antonio. But when you say the whole family is affected, how does it affect them? How is it interfering with their lives? You are the person who is suffering from psoriasis. How does it affect your family members?
Okay, my mother have a small psoriasis, and my mother feel guilty. Okay, feel guilty about my psoriasis. When I was an adult, 50 years ago, I called my mother. Okay, Mom, you are not guilty. Forget me. I am a normal person. I don't need a special thing. I am normal like my brother or my sister. Okay, that's important. And my father always looking for in internet or with talking with doctors, especially moving a lot, traveling 100 kilometers, looking for solution that we never find a solution. And especially in the school, I have problems with another child. Okay, the children are very cruel and say, okay, you have psoriasis. And my father was very, very bored by that. It's a problem that the solution arrived with me. Okay, when I was adult, okay, no problem, be quiet, and now very happy.
Well, it's good that this story has a happy end. That you said that you have a better quality of life now than you had 20 years ago, which means really, really a lot. But these are all subjective things. I would like a doctor to talk more about any specific guidelines in this domain. If they don't exist, how do you assess the overall well-being of a psoriatic patient? How do you measure this?
Yeah. Well, this is not easy sometimes, because when you touch these topics, you need a lot of time in your clinic. I enjoy a lot doing this because it's where I feel that I help my patients. We have some tests and some measurements that we can do in the clinic. And there is, for example, the DLQI, the dermatology life quality impairment. But I don't like so much this because it's like the patient is doing a test and he's there doing that and then you read it. So for me, what I like to do in my clinic, and this is like human medicine, I like to sit with my patient and in the first encounter when a patient, I like to do all the examination. I ask for everything. And then at the end, I always ask, okay, but how do you feel? How are you? How is this psoriasis affecting you? And I stop there and I look at their eyes. 40% of my patients cry. They cry there. So, and there is a strong difference there. So I am like special doing this with my colleagues. They say, oh, I know I'm going to send you the patient and the patient is going to cry. And it's something that they are looking forward, but they don't have the opportunity. But from my point of view, they suffer a lot and they need an opportunity when they have confidence with the doctor, when there is a good doctor-patient relationship, that you ask this question, how do you feel? How is this affecting you? How is this affecting your life? How is this affecting you with your family, as Antonio was saying? And I think this is really relevant for me in my clinic. And this changed everything because not only because they tell you about their quality of life, which at the end is the most important thing in our clinic. So most important thing is to improve the quality of life of our patients. And this is the first thing why they come to us. And then also when you ask this looking at their eyes, they trust you as a doctor and they are going to do the treatments. They are going to do everything. So this is a really important point. Also, when they are under treatment and they come, for example, for a follow-up, I always ask 2 questions. So there are many like questionnaires, many tests, but I always ask 2 questions. So which is the percentage you have improved? So I have improved 80%, 90%. And I have another question. From 0 to 10, how happy you are? So, and they said, I'm 10. So I said, okay, they have a mild plaque in the leg. Okay. And then sometimes they have a mild plaque in the hand, here in the dorsum of the hand. They work in something where they attend people and they have just a tiny plaque in the dorsum of the hand. And they said, well, my happiness is only 1. So I need to do something here. So that is different ways. We need efficacious ways to evaluate the quality of life of our patients. And I, after many attempts with many different tests and so on, I found that asking these simple but very elemental and human questions really important. So how do you feel? How is your psoriasis affecting you? But this is something that you can ask very quickly. I'm saying asking this, looking at their eyes and really looking forward to asking a question and after establishing a very good relationship with the patient.
Well, I think all patients that meet you are lucky patients. And I really admire your approach because nowadays we see that even nowadays, some doctors treat disease and not the person.
Yeah.
And your personal approach is very important. In one of our previous episodes, we had a guest, your colleague from Italy, Dr. Giovanni Damiani, and he said something that really resonated for a long time. He said, a doctor is the first medicine you give to the patient. It depends on your approach.
Yeah.
It's the first medicine that the patient receives. Is your kind word, is your looking in the eyes, asking him how he feels. And this is the same thing that we heard from you. So I think with this young generation of doctors, and not to be discriminating here, but I think things are changing for the better. And I'm really happy to hear about this. But what do you think about this? Everyone is always talking about multidisciplinary approach to well-being. How do you feel about this? And if it is really a multidisciplinary approach, which disciplines are we talking about?
Yeah, so we have been privileged in the last 5 years to be able to really understand that we dermatologists are not the only healthcare practitioners who need to be involved in the care of patients with psoriasis. So there are other colleagues who can support our approach. For example, we work here with a lot of people. They are very generous with their time and also with their knowledge. For example, cardiologists, they are helping us, but just we dermatologists do the first screening. And then when we see something interesting, we send them. So we have a good communication with other doctors. Also, we work for sure very closely with the rheumatologist, for sure. When we see joint pains, we dermatologists do the first screening. We have like 4 questions. You have like edema in your joints, pain, and so on. And then we refer to our rheumatologist and we try to start treatments like when we have a nice conversation and we understand like we are going the best for our patient, and we try to do it together with nice communication, as I said. And also we try to also implement, for example, in where I work, we have like a psychologist working with us. So we can, for example, when we detect some people who are really affected with some symptoms of depression, anxiety, so we can also work there. Also with diet, we are working now with nutritionists who are helping to improve the lifestyle of our patient, which for sure is really important for all of us, but especially for psoriasis patients. So we are also working there.
Antonio, I have a question for you. What do you think about alternative therapies like yoga, for example, or mindfulness meditation? Does this help? If a person is suffering, if you feel itchy and you're in pain, can something like this help also in addition to medication? And what is the role of support groups of people who are suffering the same like you are suffering? How do you think this works and how much it helps?
Okay, I think, of course, helps, but there is an important question before. Is never forget your doctor, never forget your medication. Some people want to change the mindfulness, yoga, etc., and change for the doctor. I don't know why. Maybe it's expensive, maybe it's far, or every situation. But I think it helped a lot, the yoga. For me, the most important help was mindfulness, 2 years making mindfulness, and I can be quiet, less stress. Okay, but for me, the most important problem always was the stress. I don't take good decision in my life according with the stress. Now I write my history. I'm an old man, 64, and I remember what I do 30 years ago was the stress, the obesity, to eat a lot because I need some response with my psoriasis because I don't get support, help that I need. The question is completely agree with you. Okay, you can use these areas, yoga, mindfulness, music. For me, it was interesting to study music too. When I am hearing the Mozart, I am very happy because I have less sleep. But don't forget, the most important thing is to visit to the doctor and say always to do like the doctor say. Because if you change that thing with the doctor or don't eat chocolate or don't eat orange everywhere, okay, you have a problem. Okay, it's important to understand the answer. The most important answer is in the doctor.
And going back to the doctor, can you please give us more information about modern therapies and what is the latest approach to treating such a complex disease as psoriasis?
Yeah, so we are very fortunate in psoriasis because we have many good drugs and even many more drugs coming. So I am now the director of not only a clinical practice in psoriasis, but also a clinical trials and research center in psoriasis here in Madrid. So I see what's coming in the new drugs of psoriasis. So we have like a very strong, a very good armamentarium for psoriasis patients, but a lot of new drugs are coming. So for me, it's the disease that has had like the most advantage in the last years in dermatology. So we are very happy with what we have. So the only issue is access to these treatments. So they have been very expensive until now. We have like with so many treatments, some now losing the patents. So we have biosimilars. So this is also improving the access to patients. We are also doing a lot of awareness of the disease in collaboration with Acción Psoriasis, which is the main patient association in our country. And we work together because we think that the patient is what we need to be working towards and improving this knowledge. So the approach to people with psoriasis is understanding the patient as a whole, not only as a piece of a skin. So this is really important to understand, to ask them, as I told before, how are you? So first for me, because when I see a patient now, he has gone to 15 dermatologists before saying, oh, we will try to do something. So first thing for me is to be very positive and optimistic and to motivate the patient, because otherwise he's not going to come anymore. So I like to have a very optimistic and positive message to them. I always show the long list of treatments that we have. We need to explain them that this is not only about the skin, but also other organs, always in a positive way. If he has psoriatic arthritis, we are going to help you. If you have cardiovascular disease, we are going to help you. We have many things to help patients. So we need to cover everything. Of course, we don't want to overwhelm the patient. So first, I always say, I'm going to explain you everything about the disease, but first I'm going to clear your skin. And then we cover other things, because otherwise you go to a doctor, you go for a skin, for something in your skin, and he's telling something about the cholesterol levels, and this is something that thinks that, oh, he doesn't know about the skin, so he's telling me about the cardiovascular. So I always cover the skin first, we clear the skin, and then we go to the other domains of the disease. But we have so many good drugs from topicals, some really good topical treatments, that if you apply that correctly, as we now know that we need to do that, we know that we are going to improve a lot of patients. We also have phototherapy, we have very good systemic treatments, we have biologic therapy with very good, many different treatments. So I think that we are in a very good time for psoriasis. I think that what we need to do in the future is we have like two main objectives. And both objectives is together with you, with the media, with patient association. Those two main objectives in the future of psoriasis is doing awareness of the disease. So this knowledge and these advantages need to be shared with people like we are doing today here, and also to improve the access to these treatments. So those are our objectives, our mission to improve the life of people with psoriasis. And I think that we are doing really good. This is an example. The podcast that we are doing today is an example of what we really need to do.
Thank you. This was very insightful. And we are so fortunate that we have so many options now. But I don't know if you heard, EUROPSO made a software tool which is making a list of all the clinical trials which are currently active in Europe. And this tool is now active on website psodata.eu. You can track any clinical trial that you want. So for now, we are fortunate that we have all these options. But we are reasonably concerned about the future because apparently, based on available data, many of these clinical studies are now in phases 3 or 4, and not enough new molecules are entering the pipeline in phases 1 and 2. So we could be facing a problem in 10 years' time from now. But as you said, for now, we are very, very fortunate, and we hope to maintain this course. I also wanted to ask you, are there any official studies on patient well-being in psoriasis? Are there any official scientific papers published on this matter?
Yeah, so the field is now increasing, the knowledge is being increased here in this topic. So until now, we have been very focused on PASI, on the severity of the skin lesions. But now there are some like companies and studies working on this. And I think this is really relevant. We need to be working for like the well-being of our patients. And we need to understand that the well-being is covering many different aspects, not only the skin, but also how do you feel, as Antonio was saying, how your family is like feeling, and all these many topics and many more, like when you go to work, are you able to go to work, having a family, going to the swimming pool. So all these things need to be understood, and it's not only a question of having something in your skin. So I think this is increasing now. It's not like the main topic now in our methods. We are talking about other things, but I think it's increasing, and I think that we need to support this kind of studies. So I think it's one of the future main topics that we need to cover.
Antonio, you work in a public domain. Your daily job is very stressful. You're a journalist and you have a disease which is easily triggered by stress. And stress can be induced for many reasons, but one of these reasons usually associated with psoriasis is stigma. So have you ever faced a stigma because of your disease? Have you faced this problem of people looking at you differently because you have psoriasis? And how did it make you feel, and how did you make it work for you? How did you cope?
Yeah, really, the stigma. We are in 24 years for the century, and really, I can't believe the stigma is here everywhere. In the patient call me, okay, have problem in the gym or in the train or in the bus. Okay, it's a really problem. But I think the most important thing is the patient have personal empowerment to understand and to respond about that question. That is in my association, Acción Psoriasis, the most important Spanish association. We are working in that. Okay, don't move your face. Okay, look directly to the person and explain what happened. I have that experience 2 years ago in the bus. One person sit near me and saw my hand with psoriasis. Okay, don't worry. I explained perfect, and for me, it's very important psychologically to do that. 25 years ago, I couldn't. It's impossible for me to ask, okay, I moved 10 meters over there. That is one of the most important work in the association. Okay, in the summer we say, show your body in the beach, show your body in the swing, no problem. Show and explain what happened. No, the sun is good for you, and it's a liberty, psychological liberty. That's important for us. There is another important question. The problem is not solely the stigma. There is another problem. It's the silence of the people around you. You are different.
Yeah.
They don't say you something. They don't explain you something. They don't move. They don't call you to go to the cinema or go to the theater because you have psoriasis. It's necessary. It's an important work of the patient to be normal life. Okay, the life has problems. Everybody has problems, but the problem is not for the psoriasis. It's for the real life. Your life, my life. We are in the street working a lot. In my job, I get when I was in direct, making direct in television. I am good making a direct live television every country, but the secret is not to think that there is a lot of people looking you. That you are alone and talking with a camera. Okay, this is if I think that there is a lot of people nervous, straight problems are problems for me. Okay.
Well, it's understandable, and fortunately, there are tricks to decrease the stress. So we mentioned at the very beginning that you are active and working with Acción Psoriasis, Spanish psoriasis organization, and they have so many wonderful campaigns. Is there any campaign that you would like to mention now that we have opportunity that you want people to see or hear on the website?
Yeah, okay. I invite everybody to visit our website, accionpsoriatic.org. It's very popular in Spain. Now I want to explain Nina. Nina is a film. It's a professional film. It's a travel from the darkness to the light. Nina is a top model with psoriasis. It's very interesting. I invite you. You can watch in English too. You want. It's very important. Another campaign is in the summer. I say you show your skin. No problem. Show your skin is a psychological liberation. We have in Acción Psoriasis more campaigns about against the stigma. And for us, it's very important to the doctor-patient, the relation, the good relation. What you have to do before to visit the doctor. When you go to visit the doctor, you have clear what happened. They take notes about what you want to say to the doctor. It's very important to prepare, and we prepare the patient. And two more, we say the psoriasis is not only skin. You are not only a problem skin, you are a person. You have a lot of possibilities. Why? We explain to people about that. And for me, one of the most important campaign is talk with your dermatologist. Declárate is in Spanish, not to declare. Okay, talk with your dermatologist because it's important to understand what the dermatologist can do by you. Because today, the dermatologist can make a lot of things for you. It's very important to understand what happens when you talk, you open the door of the clinic of the dermatologist.
Thank you. And I really hope that our listeners will go to the website accionpsoriasis.org or to EUROPSO.org and to find out more about these wonderful campaigns. But I would also like to invite people who are listening to us to send their questions to us by social media. And we will try to answer these questions in some of the upcoming episodes in next year in 2024. So now it's time to slowly close this very interesting conversation. And I would like to ask you if there is one thing that you want our listeners to remember from all of this talk in the past half an hour or so. What would this message be? What do you want our listeners to have in their mind when they think about this episode?
Oh, really? Okay. I would say that the patient be selfish. Think in you. You are a perfect person. You can improve. Don't be afraid. Okay. The life is beautiful. Visit the dermatologist. Love your family, and because your life is like another person. Be selfish in the sense of you are the most important thing for you. Okay.
Thank you. That is very inspiring, actually. And for you, Doctor, what would you recommend to our listeners and what would you want them to remember from all of this talk about well-being?
Yeah, so seek for help because I see many patients, they just they don't have any interest because they have been to many dermatologists in the past or to many people looking for help, and they say there aren't anything for this, or you need to suffer, you need to accept this, there is no other thing. So just to give this another opportunity, there are opportunities to improve your well-being a lot. There is a tremendous effort of many doctors, patient associations, and many other agents that are working really hard to improve the opportunities that patients nowadays have. So I think that it's very important to look for opportunities, to knock on the door again. I say to patients, so knock on the door, and if you have bad luck, just knock on the other door. And I'm sure that now, and we are improving a lot the knowledge of this, so I'm sure that they are going to find many opportunities. So just knock on the door and fight for it. I'm sure that they're going to improve their well-being a lot, and we have many options now. We are improving the knowledge from the doctors, from patients, from many other people involved in the care of patients with psoriasis. So just fight, knock on the door. Don't be at home, hidden there. You need to be living with this. We need to move, to be active. And as I said, we have all these, the podcast we are doing today, the patient association, Action Psoriasis, which I'm very grateful to have them in our country. And we have many good things for patients with psoriasis, it's different from other rare diseases that there is nothing, then we need to work on that. But psoriasis now is a very prevalent disease. We are doing a lot of effort. We are doing very well. So to just knock on the door, move, and be active. That's my message.
Thank you. Thank you both. And with these messages of inspiration and hope, I would like to thank you both for taking part in this episode. I think it was very interesting, and I'm for a long time in this topic, and I hope that people who are shorter than me in this topic will also find it interesting and very informative. We tried to explore psoriasis beyond the skin today, and I would like our listeners to remember that psoriasis might shape the lives of those who have it, but it doesn't define them. So if you find this episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe to EUROPSO YouTube channel and share this podcast. And you can also find us on Spotify. And we hope to be back soon in 2024 with more empowering stories and insights. Until then, take care and stay well. Thank you. Thank you, guests.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you. Goodbye.
This episode has been supported by Almirall. At Almirall, we are driven by science and committed to providing innovative solutions that address unmet needs and improve the lives of people with skin conditions.